All right. Good morning. Welcome back. How's everyone doing? Buona dia, Vincenzo. Man, do I wish my parents taught me Italian. When I was born, it wasn't cool to know another language. Everyone wanted to learn English. All the Italians didn't want their children to learn Italian. They had to learn English. It sucks. Now it's the opposite. Now everyone wants to be bilingual. Bad loss for the Islanders, Josh. Yeah, I mean, that's going to be a tough series for the Islanders. The Hurricanes are good, man. Yeah, so some little ugly earnings for Goldman Sachs this morning. You guys saw that. Yeah, I've been trying to learn Spanish. I've been taking classes, and then maybe if I can get somewhat down on Spanish, I'll learn Italian at some point. That is true. There's no H. Just CENZO. All right. Well, good morning, everyone. Hope everyone having a good morning. Big upside on the market this morning. Big upside on the Nasdaq, on the ES. A little bit of weakness on the Dow because of that Goldman Sachs earnings. You saw the Dow react to the downside because of that. Goldman Sachs, I believe, is the second largest behind UNH for the Dow. So we're seeing a little bit of downside on the Dow, nice strong upside on the ES Nasdaq, and it all happened because of some very key level breaks. So that 4170 level that we talked about yesterday was very key yesterday. We rejected it early morning, so we said we can't go long if the ES is under 4170, which was absolutely correct. Nice morning downside. And then afternoon, we held the 4150. And we bounced off that level very aggressively back into the 4170. So I'm just getting this ready here. So a really nice, definitely a really nice demand hold yesterday again, which was pretty nice to see. So yesterday was all about 4170, 4150, and then today is all about the 4200. That's going to be our major level above 4,200. That's that nice psychological level, major rejection point from the past. This is going to be the big watch today. 4,200. A little bit tough, right? A little bit tough because you're up so much in the pre-market, right? You want to see, at least for me personally, I'd love to see a little pullback off that 4,200 before getting long. But do we see that? We shall see, right? That's going to be what we have to watch today. So 4,200, that's going to be our big watch today. You got Goldman Sachs earnings this morning, Netflix earnings tonight. You got Tesla earnings tomorrow. So you got some big stuff. Yeah, that Nvidia AMD setup we were talking about worked out beautifully. AMD starting to maybe set up that bull flag that we were talking about yesterday. This is definitely going to be one of my top watches today. That AMD bull flag's looking interesting. So we shall see about that. So, all right, let's get started. 8:05. Got about 1,000 people here. Welcome back, everyone. Hope everyone's having a good morning. Let's jump into it. So, futures, as always, economic earnings calendar. Let's go ahead and pull up that economic calendar. Economic calendar's pretty light this week. It's not too heavy. So here it is today. Today is Tuesday, April 18th. Housing starts building permits at 8:30. We'll see. We'll see if there's any movement off that. I don't really expect much off that. Fed governor speaking at 1 p.m. Tomorrow, beige book. Fed president speaking as well. Jobless claims, normal Thursday there. Home sales, really some major Fed speakers on Thursday, and then PMI on Friday. So nothing really that big here. On the economic side, I don't think you really need to worry about housing starts building permits today. Nothing really tomorrow, and then you just sort of get into a jobless claims Thursday. So really nothing there. Nothing major. Nothing that really stands out. If we go to the earnings calendar, let's go ahead and pull that up real quick. That's really what's going to start driving, I think, this week. That's going to be the big watch. That's going to be what everyone's sort of eyeing this week is the earnings. So this morning, we got BOA, Bank of America, Johnson & Johnson, Goldman Sachs, Lockheed Martin. Those are the big four that reported today. Goldman Sachs moving lower off earnings pretty aggressively. So got to sort of see how this affects the market. That definitely affected the Dow this morning. So we'll see. How that sort of, follows through today. We'll take a look at these earnings. Netflix is tonight. That's going to be very important for the tech sector. Obviously, tomorrow, ASML, Morgan Stanley, Tesla, right? Big one tomorrow afternoon, tomorrow after close, Tesla. TSM, another big one for the semiconductors, American Express, payment processors, and that's really it. That's really it for this week. So there's your earnings, right? Some big ones to watch. Netflix after hours today definitely could affect the tech sector, so let's keep an eye on that. Nvidia demand hold, that 263 demand hold is insane. You guys saw that come in again yesterday. That demand down there just does not give up. Nvidia got an upgrade this morning and definitely pushing it higher pretty aggressively. AMD bull flag potentially setting up. Definitely watching this. Tesla 190 today. Apple 167, big supply level to watch today. Amazon 104. Amazon's been a really weak stock. If tech does continue to heat up, does Amazon wake up to this move? 104 is going to be the level to watch. Microsoft 292 is a big one I'm watching. And then finally, we'll jump into those banks, XLF, Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan. Those are some of the banks that I want to sort of look at today. So we'll look at some other ones, Google. We'll look at Meta. You know, we'll get around to all the big tech names as we usually do. So, yeah. All right. That's the schedule. Let's do it. Let's have a good day. It's a beautiful day to have a beautiful day, right? That's what I love to. That's one of my favorite sayings. So let's make it a good day. Press that like button if you guys could before we get started. Get those early likes going, and yeah, let's do it. So let's start with the ES. ES. It's going to be all about 4,200 today, guys. That's really what it's going to be all about. Let me delete some of these levels and just really show you. This is that level that I talked about on one of my videos a few weeks back. I said 4,200 is going to be the monster, and it definitely is coming into it. So 4,200, I think, is a really heavy psychological level to watch today. You have very heavy rejections here. You have rejections here. You have rejections here. So you have some some major rejections at 4,200 on the daily chart in the past. We're pushing right into 4,200 right as we approach major earnings. What could go wrong? It's going to be an interesting next few days, that's for sure. Next few days, next few weeks. Do we break over this 4,200? Do we continue this push? Or do we see, that rejection come in again at 42? No matter how aggressive we push into this level, right, we have to still respect the supply. So we still have to be cautious of this. You could put lines at the wicks of these days. So this day was up to around 42.08, right? So is there a little bit of a push above the 4,200 and then a little bit of a trap? Maybe, right? That could happen. So this day here went up to around 42.08. This day here went up to around 42.17. So there is maybe a little room above 4,200 to trap some longs, right? Because if we look at this, right, look at this day. This day went up to 42.17 and then fell over, right? This day over here went up to 42.08 and then fell over. So what do we really want to see today to get confidence that 4,200 actually is breaking, right? We want to get the break and hold above 4,200. That's really the key, right? The key is a legitimate break and hold over 4,200 before looking to go long today. So that's going to be a major, major watch today. Do we break it and do we hold it? It's not just I'm going to go long on a break, right? Because if we break and we come back and we dump right back under it, that was just a fake out. That's just a bull trap, right? We don't want to be stuck in a bull trap. What we want to see is a legitimate push and then a legitimate hold of that level, right? That's really where you build that confidence if you start to see that demand step up above 4,200. So just be careful, right? Just because we break out of 4,200 today does not mean you start to go long. You want to get that break. You want to get that hold. This is similar to what happened at 4170 yesterday, right? So yesterday, we were looking at 4170, right? This was one of our major watches at 4170 yesterday. You can see this was our supply level yesterday, and yesterday at market open, we pushed right into 4170. This was actually a really good example of a bull trap yesterday morning. So here's yesterday morning, right? This is market open yesterday, right here. This is market open. We pushed right into 4170. So anyone going long before understanding, before the actual break and hold of the supply, we knew supply was at 4170. Anyone that went long, just sort of saying, I'm going long because I think we're going to break out. Obviously, not a good day, right? So we have to wait for those legitimate breaks and those holds to get that confirmation. Yesterday was a fantastic example of a bull trap in the 4170 supply and then a rejection of it, right? So we do not want to be doing that today, right? We're not trying to go long into supply. Now look at what happened later day, right? This was very, very key. This was just textbook break and retest. This is 4170 right here on the ES. Look at what happened around 2 o'clock, 2:30, 3 o'clock yesterday. We got a perfect demand hold of 4150, right? A pullback after the break of 4170. And look at those 5-minute candle holds above 4170. That was absolutely textbook, right? Previous highs from intraday yesterday, early morning yesterday at 4170 supply. We break it. We come back down to it. We have a very nice wick demand hold of 4170. And look at that push that happened after that. So this is really what you want to see today. This right here is what you're looking for today at 4,200, right? This is exactly what you want to see today at 4,200 if you're looking for upside. You need to see the break. You need to see the pullback. You need to see the legitimate hold above that level before you can go long off that level. If you just see a push into 4,200, if you don't see it hold above, right, then you're going to expose yourself to that bull trap. You do not want to expose yourself to that. Wait for the real break. Wait for the real hold. Wait for the consolidation above, right? And that is exactly what happened at our supply yesterday of 4170. That was very, very key yesterday near close. All right, so you can see today we got that upside push into 4,200. Now, I'm going to keep this a little bit tighter here. I'm going to keep this like 5 points, this supply up here, because there is some levels that we can watch today on a pullback, right? We definitely can watch this little previous high around 4188, 4190. You can see this is that previous high. This is back from Friday of last week. We could keep an eye on this level today. We could see if there's anything that steps up here. You can see that this is a previous high right here. If we get a pullback off 4,200, which would really be what I want to see, maybe we watch this 4188 to see if that holds, right? That could be a potential pullback entry, right? And then also, I'm sort of watching this 4170. It's not perfect, but this sort of 4175, maybe even up to this 4180, sort of monitoring this area as well to see what happens on a pullback back in this little consolidation zone here. So you have some previous highs here, right? You have a previous high right here, and you have some consolidation here. I will see if we do get a pullback, what happens in this 4175, 4180 zone. That's also going to be a watch for me today. So I really want to see a pullback. You know, that would definitely give me more confidence to go long today because I can't long here into 4,200, right? You're risking a lot to make a little. So really, you know, if you want to look for longs today, I would really want to see a pullback, 4188 area. You could even look for that 4180. Honestly, the best pullback would be a 4170 pullback, right? Come back down to that previous supply and then see if we can formulate long entries off 4170. That would be ideal, right? That would give me confidence that I just got a good risk reward for upside. But do we get that pullback, right? That's the question. Do we actually see a pullback into 4170? That's going to be the question today. I don't think it is I don't think there is much risk reward here, right? Going long just where we are right now. It doesn't really make sense at the moment. To go long, if we don't pull back today, you're going to need to see this, right? This is going to have to be your long entry if you want to go long without a pullback today. If we just gap and go, right? If we just do a gap up and a go, you're going to need a break and hold above 4,200 to really get confident for upside. I would be very cautious going long. If we open today below 4,200, I would be very cautious trying to long and looking for a breakout. That's going to be a tough sell, at least for me mentally, right? I'm going to be very patient to see what happens at this 4,200 supply up here. It's not going to be, you know, I'm long and I'm hoping that we break out. That's not a trading strategy. That's just hope. There's no risk reward here at the moment. I'm either going to look for a break and hold above, right? Nice demand hold at 4,200, or I'm going to look at pullbacks as opportunity. Either 4188, maybe even this 4180 area to the downside. Now, it's a little bit of a hard sell for me to short this 4,200 today, just knowing how well the demand is held, right? So I'm not so sure I'm that interested in shorts to the downside off 4,200. Just simply knowing how strong, this demand that came in at 4170 was, right? I'm not that fond of looking for this short. You are short, it could be nice, it could definitely be a nice profit. You could definitely have some opportunity there on a short off 4,200. But the overall trend of this market, and the demand holes that we have seen that have stepped in just makes me know that any short side move is very, very likely to get, at least recently, is very likely to get bought up. So how much can I trust a short side move off 4,200? There could definitely be a nice little morning drop off 4,200. There could definitely be some opportunity. It's going to be, if you take a trade like that, I would make sure to think of it as a short-term scalp, because you've seen, these pullbacks get very aggressively short up or bought up. You've seen these short-term pullbacks get very aggressively bought up. So these shorts are not easy to really have a big trust in, right? And that's really what makes, that's when I have my best trades. It's when I have a lot of trust in the position, a lot of belief in it. And so right now, I don't have a lot of belief in a short side move because you've seen, right? Look at the last few weeks. The short side moves are just so short-lived, and it's sort of difficult to have a lot of trust in it, right? It's sort of difficult to get into a short and be like, I can hold this. I like this, right? So, you could try the 4,200 supply rejection. I think there's possibility of that today. I think you could try for that short. But I'm a little bit more on the side of looking for pullbacks, just waiting for the pullback to happen, and then looking to see where I can really spot that demand come back in for a pullback long entry. That's a little bit more of what I'm interested in today than the short side play off 4,200. Could be wrong with that thought process, right? We could just see a really aggressive pullback off 42, might miss it. But just reading the overall market, being here every day, watching the price action, I know that the short side moves are very difficult, and they're very short-lived. And sometimes, if you overstay your welcome on a short, right, it could really go against you. So I think to sort of give you, those short-term levels today, I'd say watch the 4188. If we pull back, watch the 4188. Watch the 4,200 supply. The 4188 comes from this previous high. Watch the 4,200 supply. And if we get back under 4188 here, we probably could see, we could probably see a little bit of a gap fill. I think that's possible. That would be probably the extent of what I look for, a gap fill right down to around this 4180 level that we talked about to around this 4175. That's probably the extent of a short side move that I would really look for today, right? If you get that 4,200 supply rejection, I would probably be a profit taker, around this 4180, 4175 gap fill. That would probably be the extent of my target to the downside, back into yesterday's highs, which was 4180. All right. So those are the levels that I have on my charts today: 4,200, 4188, previous high here, and then this 4180, 4175, yesterday's highs, little previous highs here. This would be your gap fill level down into this 5-point zone on the ES. All right? So watch out for that. If we go to the SPY, here's the 4-hour chart on the SPY. You guys can see we are navigating through the supply zone, right? We're above 415, and we are navigating into this supply zone, right? We're heading into choppy seas. Anywhere between 415 and 418 is going to be the major area to watch. But now that we are above 415, right, I'm going to change this a little bit. I'm going to put my supply at 418. I'm going to understand that that's there. I'm going to now create a zone at 415, and I'm going to look for that to hold today. So if I go to the 5-minute chart, what I'm going to look for today, I'm going to see if this previous high from Friday, which is right here at 415, I'm going to see if that turns into a hold, right? That is going to be one of my watches today. If the SPY pulls back today, does it hold this Friday high at 415? If the SPY is above 415 today, guys, I would be very cautious just getting into shorts early morning, right? Be a little bit cautious getting into shorts if the SPY is above 415. This is that previous high, and that is not only a previous high there, that is also, if I go to the 4-hour chart, that is also the previous highs from back on this 4-hour top. Right? You can see 415, 415, 415. So if you come over here now and you look at the price action now, are you going to short back into these previous highs. I don't think that's a good idea, personally. I would not recommend, if someone asked me if I should short above 415, my personal recommendation would be no. I would not short back into these previous highs, which you have broken this morning. All right? So if you're going to short today, I would really want to see the SPY under 415. If the SPY holds above 415, I think that could continue an upside move. All right, if we maintain that previous high and those previous highs in that 4-hour chart I just showed you, if we maintain above that, I would assume there's still strength here. That 415 level is the same level as that 4188 level on the ES, right? So if we go to SPY, right, you can see that wick high right here that we're talking about, 415 on Friday. That is the same as the 4188 level on the ES. So, right, these could line up pretty well. If we get a pullback to 415 today on the SPY, if we get a pullback to 415 on the SPY today, that is the same as a pullback to 4188 on the ES, right? Those line up perfectly. So that is pretty much my first pullback watch, right? If we get a pullback off 4200, my first watch is a pullback to 4188 on the ES, which lines up perfectly with a pullback to 415 on the SPY. That's pretty much my first, that's the game plan today. Either a 415 pullback and hold for longs, or if we break back under 415, that could sort of help you for some more downside. But that 415 is going to be the major watch. All right? 415 to 418 is really your zone here today, guys. 415 to 418 is your big zone up here. All right? So that's what I would watch on the SPY. Now, Nasdaq. Nasdaq's a little bit strong, right? And what a sexy, sexy break and retest. I mean, look at this thing, guys. This is perfect break and retest action. 4-hour previous highs, break, retest. It's absolutely perfect, right? There's just nothing cleaner than that right there. Previous triple top into previous triple top into a triple bottom. That's a break and retest all day. That definitely shows me strength, and you can see the upside is continuing this morning. So really nice 4-hour break and retest. The reason I show you the 4-hour is because you have to remember the situation going on the longer time frames, right? You have to remember, and this is why I said earlier, the short side is a little bit tough to get behind, because you have to remember on the 4-hour chart, on the daily chart, this is a very, very bullish scenario for the market, right? There is nothing bearish about the Nasdaq breaking and retesting 12,970 on the 4-hour chart. There is nothing bearish about this setup on the market, and this is on the 4-hour chart. So you have to make sure you remember what's going on the longer time frames, right? This is the daily chart. Look at how perfect the Nasdaq broke above this rejection point, broke above this rejection point, broke above this rejection point, and turned it into a demand for almost a week time, right? So you have to keep this in mind before you just think you're right? I'm going to short this. I'm going to short this market. You have to remember, hey, I'm shorting with the Nasdaq in a really strong break and retest on the daily chart. So that's why I bring up these longer term time frames, because this is definitely, this definitely plays into your trading, knowing where the market is on the longer term time frames. So today, right, this is the 30-minute chart, and there's something that happened this morning already that is pretty bullish. And it's right here at 13,254. So if we go into the 15-minute chart here, look at what's happening as we speak this morning. All right. This is Friday's highs at 13,254. This is the exact high on Friday on the Nasdaq. This morning, if we go to the 5-minute chart, look at the break and the hold of 13,254. That is the exact high of Friday, right? Look at how clean that was this morning. Rejection right here, Friday morning, big rejection of that level. And look at the break and look at the hold. So, are you going to short the Nasdaq if it is holding above Friday's highs? No, you're not. There's no sense in that, right? There's no sense in shorting the Nasdaq if the Nasdaq is holding above last Friday's highs in the pre-market. If you break back below it, if you turn it back into a rejection point, then sure, right? Then maybe you can get your move back into 13.2, right? Maybe that's the trade today. Break back below 13,250, break back below Friday's highs, see if that turns into a rejection, and then you have your confirmation. But am I going to open today's market and am I going to start shorting this back into Friday's highs? No, right? That doesn't make sense. Think about it technically. You're not going to short into a previous high that's holding as a morning demand, right? Doesn't make sense. So let's get the break, right? If we're going to short, let's get the breakdown first, right? Break back below Friday's highs, and then, right? And then we could set up that risk reward to the downside. Then you're in a little bit more of a better scenario for the shorts. But until that happens, don't just think you can just say, oh, this is overextended, I'm shorting this market, right? That's just emotion. That's all that is your personal emotion and your personal greed. If you just come in today and say, this is overextended, I'm shorting this market, this is ridiculous, and I have to think, the market has to come down. If you come back down and you hold Friday's highs again, you're going to lose money. So watch Friday's highs, right? That's the key right here, 13,254. You can see it held this morning, and it's pushing off of it right now. Now to the upside, right? To the upside supply. It's a little bit, it's not that strong right now. I will say I'm a little bit more focused on 4,200. I'll say that. 4,200 is really the supply I'm focused on today, because up here on the Nasdaq, I mean, you have these highs here, but how strong are those highs? I mean, they're potentially rejection points, but you have around this 13,310 to 13,350. This little 40-point range where we rejected right here and we rejected right here. I think you want to be cautious up there, right? I think you want to be cautious up there on the upside because you've seen rejections in the past, right? Rejection here, rejection here. I think that's a good idea to be cautious between the 300 to 350. That's definitely a potential rejection point up there. So just be a little bit aware of that. How strong does that hold the market down? It's not that legit of a level, right? The ES 4200 is much more of a legit level, right? The ES 4200 has been a rejection on the daily chart 3 times. The Nasdaq 13.3 area is sort of just a short-term rejection point. The major supply in the Nasdaq is really up here around 13.5. That's really where that major rejection comes in, right? So the upside rejections on the Nasdaq are not that heavy, right? That's sort of what I'm trying to say. They're not that heavy because really what we're looking at is really just a 30-minute chart, maybe a 20-day hourly chart. This rejection is just sort of a short-term rejection off of this 13,350 level. So watch for that. I would still be cautious up there, right? Still be cautious up in that 300, 350 zone. That looks a little bit tough. It has some rejections in the past. But if the Nasdaq remains above 13,250 today, remains above Friday's highs, I would continue to look for that upside potential. The only problem, right? Here's your problem, right? Here's your discrepancy. This is why you have to watch both these futures. This is why you have to always monitor both futures contracts. If the ES is to reject 4,200 aggressively, right, that is going to influence the Nasdaq lower, right? That will cause the rejection on the Nasdaq as well. So the ES might be the one today that causes that major rejection off 4,200, which will influence the Nasdaq lower, of course. So I'm a little bit more focused for supply. I'm a little bit more focused on the ES 4200 than I am the Nasdaq. I'm a little bit more focused here at that 4200 on the ES. All right. Let's go to the Dow. The Dow Jones is a little bit weak this morning, obviously because of the Goldman Sachs numbers. And the Dow Jones is also approaching a monster rejection area, right? You can clearly see this up here. Look at all this. Look at all these rejections up here. The Dow Jones is getting awfully close to around that 34.4, right? 34.4, 34.6, that little 200-point range up here on the Dow. Multiple rejections in the past. So please be careful on the Dow Jones up here around 34.4. this might be due for a little pullback, right, at this supply. This is a really big supply on the Dow, right? We can clearly see that, right? We can clearly see the rejection, the rejection, the rejection, the rejection. Be careful up here on the Dow. Very clear supply to monitor. All right. Russell, pretty important level here on the Russell today, right? You can see this 1823, 1823, 1823, 1820 zone, right? You can see right here. Pretty clear rejections, rejections, rejection, and you're sitting right in it this morning, right? So watch out for that 1820 area on the Russell today. All right, so here we go, guys. This is it, right? 4,200. That's going to be the big watch today. SPY, I would look to see if it holds above 415. If it does, I would look for further upside. If the ES can get above 4,200, and if the ES can hold above 4,200, that would really be your next upside potential play. But it is not until you see a legitimate hold above 4,200 that you could go long today. If you see this, right, you could come back down and you could come right back under it, right? You need to see the legitimate hold above. You need to wait for some consolidation above 4,200 before having that confidence. Be careful just trading a 4,200 breakout. Could definitely be a bull trap, especially after the upside we've seen already this morning, right? We've seen a lot of upside this morning. The ES is up 0.5% already, all right? So that's the futures. If you guys could take a second, press the like button. We got 2,000 people in here. All we need is 2/3 of you to press the like button. Let's continue. Nvidia. Very, very key hold again on Nvidia, man. Damn. I mean, just damn. That's all I have to say. I mean, this is just really, really sexy stuff. I mean, look at this hold on Nvidia. Demand just stepped up again, right? Demand all right here. Demand all right here. And that 263 demand just did not want to give up. Look at how strong that level held again, end of last week and into yesterday. Beautiful demand hold again at 263. We broke over the 270 level, which was very major. You can see the upside squeeze in the pre-market. And what are we doing this morning that is causing further upside? What is the level this morning that is causing further upside? It is 275. 275 is a previous rejection here. It's a previous rejection here. It's a previous demand here. It's a previous rejection here. It's a previous rejection here. And this morning, on the 5-minute chart, look at what Nvidia did. It broke 275. It came back into 275. And look at that wick hold of 275 in the pre-market. That is your level today, right? If we look at the 5-minute chart here, just look at the 275 previous rejection back from Wednesday of last week, right? You can see right here, there is a previous rejection at 275. Look at the hold at 275, right? That is very, very key. 275, break and hold above today. You are not going to short Nvidia back into 275 today. There is absolutely no reason to be trying to squeak out a point of downside after this push to the upside. The short entry is if you actually break back below 275, if you reject 275, then maybe you can play that gap fill, right? But there is no entry on shorts here until you actually break back under 275. I do not think you try to fight this ridiculously strong trend on Nvidia. You know, all the shorts that think this is overbought are just continuing to lose money. Don't be that guy, right? Do what the market is showing you. Don't go to sleep at night and tell yourself that Nvidia is way too overextended. I can't believe Nvidia is up to this level. I have to short Nvidia because it's too overextended. There's no positive of that. All that is negative. There's not a single positive of thinking that way. If you want to short Nvidia today, if you think it's overextended, you wait for the break under 275, you wait for it to turn into a rejection point, and then you can look for that downside risk reward, right? You wait for it to come back under this rejection point, and then you have your risk reward to the downside. So if you're going to short Nvidia, I would wait for 275 to break. If this thing continues higher, your next rejection point is up here around 278, right? 278 here, 278 here, 278 here. If you want to look for further upside, you're going to need a break over 278. You're going to need a hold over 278. That's going to be your further upside play. Either that or a 275 retest for a long entry. These are the only two long entries that I would look for Nvidia today. That's it. I would not long Nvidia at 276 just because I think it's going higher. I'm not going to long Nvidia at 278 into supply, right? The only two long entries that you should look for today on Nvidia is a pullback to 275 or a break and hold over 278. Trading off key levels. Trading off major key levels. Knowing that you have an edge, knowing that you have a risk reward, knowing that you have a easy stop loss, right? If you're above 278, you use 278 as your stop. If you're down into 275, you use 275 as your stop, right? If you're just going to long Nvidia here in the middle of this channel, where's your stop loss? You don't have one. All you have is hope and a dream, right? That's all you have. You have money and a dream if you're just longing Nvidia in the middle of nowhere today. So 278, 275, those are your levels to watch. Hopefully that makes sense to you guys. Yeah. All right, here's the big boy. Here's the big boy that I definitely want to try to catch. Does it set up for us? Man, would this be sexy. AMD, right? This is the chart I've been just staring at for the last few days. AMD, after big breakouts, has had month-long consolidation to the downside. Big break, month-long downside consolidation. Big break, month-long downside consolidation. Big break, month-long downside consolidation. Back into the previous highs, back into the previous highs, and back into the previous highs. Does AMD do the same thing it's done over the last 6 months? You can notice, right? One thing to notice is that this breakout sort of consolidates for, this consolidation was about 2 weeks, right? This is about 2 weeks of consolidation. This is probably just about 2 weeks of consolidation as well. So does AMD just straight up rocket out of the gates here? It might not, right? You might get like 2 weeks of consolidation here before it actually makes its move. So make sure you understand that, right? If you're trying to play this, it doesn't mean you can just take Friday expiration and hope that it's going to continue higher right away. So just make sure to understand that. But man, does this look sexy. And this is the type of play that I will likely put risk on, just not really caring if I lose on it, because it just looks, right? You see the setup. You trust the demand, and it definitely looks to be there. So we'll see, right? It did exactly what you wanted it to do yesterday. I'll tell you that, right? It's definitely setting up because of what it did yesterday. If we go to the 4-hour chart, right, look at the reaction off the previous high yesterday at 89, right? You see the 89 previous high, and look at what it did off 89 yesterday. It perfectly held 89, little inverse head and shoulder right at 89, right? You can see left shoulder, head, right shoulder at 89, a very nice reversal pattern, right? That is a very nice reversal pattern at 89 yesterday. So interesting. It does seem too obvious to be true, right, Darwood? I'm with you there, man. I'm with you there. It does seem too obvious to be true. So we just got to, we still got to use risk management. We're not going to just buy this with our entire account and hope for a home run. That's not sort of, the thing we're doing here, but still going to use risk management. Really what we're watching today is 91, right? That's the key, 91. Do we hold over 91? If we do, I think you could probably see 93. So 91, 93, we already did SPY. 91, 93 is what I'd watch on AMD. If AMD can hold over 91 today, I think you could see further upside. Tesla, earnings tomorrow. I'm not fond of trading this. I just wanted to point out the 190 rejection we got yesterday, which was absolutely perfect. I mean, look at this. Look at this push into 190 yesterday. Right about here, right? We got that push towards that 190 level and just a major rejection yesterday. we're pushing back into 190. You could look for it again. Just know that the IV on these contracts are extremely high. Option contracts are crazy expensive. I think at the money puts were like $8 yesterday. They're very expensive. So be careful on that. Just watch the 190. You have earnings tomorrow. I would assume it stays under 190 before earnings. That would sort of be my assumption, but we'll see. Watch 190 on Tesla. Apple 167. That's going to be a big one today. You guys can see right here. This is Apple's hourly. 167 is the exact high from Tuesday the 4th, right? That is the exact high to the cent. 167 even. You're pushing into it this morning. So watch out for that 167. Above 167, guys, there is not a lot here. I mean, if Apple actually breaks over 167, I mean, this thing could start to really push. So watch out for 167. I think that's going to be your major watch today. If you go to the 4-hour chart, you can see there's some supply up here around 170, 176s, but 167 for today is going to be my watch. If I go to the hourly chart again, you guys can see right here, hourly chart, 167 rejections. Watch out for that. All right, keep an eye on that level. This morning, right, what did Apple do this morning? That's on the bullish side. All right, what did Apple do this morning that is on the bullish side? Right here, it just turned these previous highs into a demand. So we had a previous high here around 166, previous high around this 166.30, right? You can see these previous highs right here, right in this zone. And look at what it did. Break, hold, curl to the upside, and another push. So if you want to short Apple today, right? If you're the one that says, I want to look for downside on Apple today off 167, I would wait for us to break back below the previous highs, right? I would not try to short 167 to 166.30. Your possible gain is 70 cents, right? I'm not looking for a 70 cent short right here. I am looking for more if I'm going to short. And for me, I'm looking for the break back below these highs and then maybe the gap fill, getting about $1.50, right? That's more interesting to me than trying to short Apple back into previous highs. That's not interesting, right? I don't have interest in a 70-point short or 70 cent short back into previous highs. So what I would look for if you want to short Apple, wait for it to really get weak under the previous highs here, and then you could look for that rejection of these levels here. All right, so 167, 166.30. That's what I'm watching on Apple. Amazon 104. This is going to be pretty key here, right? Look at this Amazon 104 level. You have a previous rejection in this 104 area. You have a previous rejection in this 104 area, and you're sitting right at 104 again. Pretty damn close. Does it break? And does it hold? That's what you're looking for potential upside. Does it break and does it hold over 104? If Amazon is under 104, be careful on the long side. This is very possibly a rejection point. All right, we can clearly see this is multiple rejections here. If we go out on the 4-hour, right, it's not just in the short term. Look at this, right? It's not just the short term. It is very much a major level over the last 6 months, right? You can see this is back in October of last year. This is back in November of last year. This is back in April, right? Beginning of April. So 104, 104, 104. If Amazon finds a little bit of juice here, right, there definitely could be some juice on Amazon. There's not much rejection points until like this 112. So there could be some movement here, but you got to get Amazon to get over 104 first. That's going to be the key. All right. Microsoft. So Microsoft's interesting because there is definitely still some very heavy levels up here on Microsoft. I'm actually going to redo this with you for a second. So I still believe that this 292 area, 292 to 294 area, I still believe this could be very heavy on Microsoft. Anywhere between 292 and 294, this still looks like a pretty major daily chart supply level, right? You can clearly see the rejections here at 292. You can see the rejections here at that 292 area. And you can see if we go into the hourly chart, we're still trading right below that zone, right? So you look, 292, 292, right? And look, we're still trading below it. So to get confident on Microsoft, I think you need to see a really legitimate hold above 292 for further upside. Really legitimate hold above 292 for further upside. Wait for that, right? That'll be your sort of your sign if you can get more upside, 292. But, right, we have to also remember, look at where this high was, 294.18. So you're getting into some pretty heavy levels up here. So just be a little cautious on Microsoft. The real, like, confident long, to be quite honest, is going to be a 294 break and then, like, a hold above that. That's really the confident long, to get above that previous rejection over here back in August of last year. So 292, 294, be careful in that 2-point zone on Microsoft. Definitely some supply up here. It's very much shown you that already, right? On the hourly, you can clearly see the 292 supply. And then just watch out for that previous high around 294.18. All right? All right, let's look at the banks real quick. So the XLF, I was talking about this rejection point yesterday on the XLF. It's right around this 33.33. It's like right there at 3333. Funny number to use, but that really is what it is, right? You can see this right here is 33.3. This right here is around that 33.3. It's right in that 33.3. Those are your previous double bottom lows. And as we speak this morning, you're sort of stuck right at that level. So this is going to be interesting. And the XLF, I would be surprised if it doesn't see some weakness off Goldman Sachs, right? Goldman Sachs, big drop this morning on earnings. You can see right here, big drop on earnings, right back into that demand that we had, that 326 demand. So previous highs, right back into that 326 demand on Goldman Sachs. That's sort of interesting. Look at where it's holding right now, right at that 326. So maybe there's a reversal play here on Goldman. If it holds 326, that is possible. That is possible, right? So watch that 326. But I would expect some weakness on the XLF today off this 33 if that Goldman move sort of translates into the market day. But right now, you're not really seeing that XLF weakness off of Goldman Sachs earnings. So that's interesting. JP Morgan, 4-hour chart, you can see JP Morgan has reclaimed the 138 level. This is pretty important, right? So this 138 level on JPM has now reclaimed. This is a previous high. This is a previous low, right? Double bottom low. And look at what it did, right? Look at the hold of 138. That is not, right? This is just technical analysis, right? There's no, right? Why did JP Morgan maintain 138 all day yesterday, right? Why did it hold this 138? What was the reason for that? The reason for that is because if you go to the 4-hour chart, this is a previous high and this is a previous double bottom low, right? And the reason it held 138 today is because it reclaimed this previous low right here at 138. So that's sort of bullish in my eyes, right? If JP Morgan stays above 138, that could definitely try to continue. If we look at the 4-hour chart, we could see that 138 is pretty key. So see if that thing can hold above 138. If it does, could be looking at these highs around this 143, 144. It's very possible. So keep an eye on that 138. All right. We'll go on Netflix, and this is what I'm going to tell you. Psych, it has earnings. I have no idea what Netflix does. Stop asking for technical analysis on earnings plays. There is absolutely nothing that I could tell you on Netflix's chart that will influence the earnings that the company releases at after hours today. There's nothing that matters that I am going to say, me just sitting in this apartment, have no influence on the market, can tell you that will help you try to guess what Netflix does on earnings. Nothing. So don't ask for it, right? Please know that, right? Don't trade earnings. Stop trying to guess what earnings happen, what happens on earnings. It's a waste of your time. It's a waste of your money. You are never going to be profitable trading earnings plays. All right? Psych, you got the wrong number. And with that, I'm out of here. If you guys could press that like button for me, that would be great. 4,200 on the ES, guys. 4,200 on the ES. Break and retest. Look for that, or look for that rejection. Watch the downside demands that stepped in yesterday. Focus on those futures levels today. Wait for some real confirmation. Today could be very trappy, right? I know there's a lot of people out there that are going to try to long at 4,200 today. There's going to be a lot of people that are going to look for that long at 4,200. You don't need to be the first one. Be cautious at this 4,200 level. This is a major level. There could definitely be a little bull trap setting up at that level. Wait for some real confirmation there. If we really hold above it, then maybe there's some nice longs, but I would be careful being the first one. Be careful being the first one long off 4,200. You're going to want to see some demand step up. All right? If you guys are in the Discord, I'll see you over there. Thank you guys again for subscribing, for pressing that like button. We got to 1,000 likes today before I even had to really ask for it, so thank you guys for that. And I will see you guys tomorrow. Peace out.